It is the week, not just a week, the week, championship week, and we are here to crunch championship week down with you. Crunch time is here. I am Tim Petrop, of course, and I'm here with the Gridiron Greek, fresh off the holidays. What's good, Demi?
What's going on, Tim?
I can't wait, man. I love myself some championship week, man. I will say this: there's going to be a theme you're going to notice for my predictions today, because even though I'm not on crunch time every week, it's a revolving door. But even though I'm not on crunch time every week, I always end up on this week, and it's because I love this week. And this week, I'm going to have a theme, and the theme is fortune favors the bold. You're going to hear me say that a lot, and I'm going to get into my Greek philosophizer ways. All right. But I'm going to tell you, fortune favors the bold is what I'm going to say. And that's going to be one of the things, because look, it's championship week. So at the end of the day, we can give you our best idea of what's going to happen in all probability based on what we've crunched and what we've looked at in our perspective. We can tell you that. But at the end of the day, it is going to be you and your championship roster. It is going to be your decision to click that in. Fortune favors the bold. And when you play a game of probability, sometimes when it's a 1 week, probabilities, they don't work so much. But we will give you our best attempts to get you going. And we've had some good calls over the years, so I'm hoping to continue to get some good calls. All right, Demi, so are you in any championship games? Are you facing any tough start-sit decisions?
I'm in one, and it's an 8-team league, so basically my whole roster is stacked.
Okay.
All my other leagues, unfortunately, kicked out in the first or second round, so little depressing right there. But I'm sure you must be in plenty of champ.
Well,
at least one of the Broto leagues, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
I narrowly missed being in 3 championships. I'm in 2 championships out of my 8 teams that I played this year.
That's a good rate, though.
Which I feel like it's acceptable. Like, I feel like if I have, like, Michael's got like 5 championships teams going right now. Michael's.
What is he?
I will never say this to his face, but he's probably the best fantasy player I've ever known. But with that being said, I don't have really a lot of start-sit decisions, so I'm lucky enough to put my faith in. If I would have listened to Crunch Time last week, I would have started Tyler Algier, and I would be in 2 championship games. So unfortunately, I didn't listen to Crunch Time. All right, but let's get to these questions as quick as possible, so we can get as much time in as possible. First one, what's up, boys? Let's win some money today. First couple questions. First one, Tua or Lamar? Demi, how you feeling? Tua versus Lamar?
Man, after watching what the Ravens defense did to Brock Purdy, it's like it feels so wrong to just start anyone against them now. I think the difference is that, like, I believe Jalen Waddle is confirmed out for like 2-3 days now. The thing is, like, Tua is a very accurate quarterback, and he has these guys who can like separate really well, just because they're like so dang quick that I don't know if their defense is gonna like affect them the same way that Brock Purdy did. Man, that's tough. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Dolphins defense. I think that they're like not very special. They look like they've started to improve against the pass recently, but I think I'm going to have to go with Lamar. I think he presents himself as like at least a slightly safer option, but I think that he has like sky high potential as well. It's a really tough one because, like, you don't want to bench these guys. Like, the fact that you have both of them on your roster is insane.
I will say this: I don't feel nearly as like split as you do on this one.
Yeah.
I'm going Lamar by a pretty hefty margin. The Dolphins are 10th in terms of matchup rank against the QB. They allow 4.2 points on the ground. They allow 20% over average on the ground to the QB as well. That's Lamar's bread and butter, obviously. And Tua has not been a good fantasy quarterback, honestly, since the beginning of the year. As someone who lived the Tua roller coaster this year on my main team, he was one of those guys that was just like, should I bench him? Should I bench him? In the last 3 weeks, QB 21, QB 22, and QB 21. And he had two really hard matchups. Don't get me wrong. The Jets and Dallas are two hard matchups, but he also had Tennessee, who is not a hard matchup for quarterbacks. So for me, I'm not playing this Tua game. I'm not riding the Tua roller coaster, especially when I have Lamar Jackson as my pivot option. I think that Lamar is who many people are going to be riding to the championship, and who I'm also going to be riding to the championship with for you guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, even against Washington and like you said, Tennessee, just not like the most spectacular numbers against two of the worst pass defenses in the league. So that makes a lot of sense.
All right. Oh, I forgot to click the question. Oh, look at me being a rookie. All right, second question from the special guest himself. Two questions, gents. Hooper, Smythe, or Fryermuth? I'm leaning Hooper right now with Meyer out. Two, do I sit Eckler, Mixon, Etienne, Zamir White, or Zeke? Woof. So that one's obviously a much harder question. So let's get to the first one with that tight end spot. I actually have given Jason my opinion on this already in our group chat. So I'm going to let you spit for a little while, Femi, and then I'll let you know what I think.
I mean, it's like two options that you never thought you'd be starting this year. And then Pat Fryermuth, who's had like maybe a good game or two. It was that first game against the Bengals. And I thought that he would repeat it again this week or last week, and then he just didn't because they were blowing him out. But situations change, man. Durham Smythe, wow. Like that's an actual name out there.
Well, I will say this about Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe on the low, under the radar, 9 targets over the last 2 weeks. Last week he went 5 for 50 something, 5 for 56 or something of that nature. 5 for 56 with Tyreek Hill out. And you got to think to yourself, right? All right, so Jalen Waddle's out. Who's getting those targets? Braxton Berrios so far, when someone's been out, hasn't been really doing anything. Cedric Wilson, he's caught a couple passes, but hasn't really been fantasy relevant, right? And you look at where the targets are funneling, and it's getting dumped off to that tight end. And I think in a matchup where Tua is going to be under pressure. The Ravens are one of the best pressure bringing off defenses in the league. I think that's one of the biggest differences between this defense this year. The Wink Martindale defense. Well, no more Wink Martindale, but transitioning away. So much more pressure that the Ravens are getting this year than last year, and he's going to have to dump it off to that tight end. And I think Durham Smythe, out of these three options, I think I lean Fryermuth just because he's been there, he's done that. You know he's going to be in the offense. But if you don't want to play him after a dud, I understand. It's 1A Fryermuth, 1B Smythe. I'm not going anywhere near Austin Hooper. All right, Jason, enough with this Austin Hooper. He's this guy's starting Austin Hooper. Now it's in a dynasty league.
Yeah.
So it's very, but with that being said, he hasn't scored over 3 points all year. And yes, Michael Mayer is out, but he didn't score 3 points when Michael Mayer wasn't playing in the beginning of the year either. He scored 3 points. The most was 3. So yeah, I'm gonna go Durham Smythe here. And how are you feeling if you had to pick one?
I'd rather take a shot at Pat Fryermuth here. I don't think the game script's going to be anything like last week. It shouldn't have been like how it was last week. Seattle actually can like keep up. They're at home. Pittsburgh's probably going to lose that game. I have a little bit of faith as a fan, but I don't know, man. It just seems like they're going to have to keep throwing, and it seems like when they're like down in those situations late in games, Pat Fryermuth becomes like the reliable option. When they can't get a guy like George Pickens going, which is pretty often this season. Ever since Pat Fryermuth returned from injury and fired the OC, it seems like starting to get a little more work. But I think he's probably the safer option. And if you really need like a bump, like I guess Smythe could be, the guy. But...
Show the people your T-shirt, Demi.
My Angry Runs Jalen Warren shirt.
I mean, come on, this guy's a Steelers fan, so he knows Steelers game script better than the people.
I got the Steelers mug.
Look at that, he's ready. He's ready. All right. Oh, how can we skip question 2? Can't skip question 2. We'll get to you in a second. Alejandro, Fabian, I see you. Charles, we see you. We're gonna get to you in just a second. Want to give some time to this if we have the opportunity. All right, this one: Eckler, Mixon, Etienne, Zamir White, or Zeke. Sit one. Wow. That is a hard decision to make, especially because it looks like Josh Jacobs isn't playing.
Yep.
Where do you sit here? For me, as crazy as it sounds, I'm probably going to consider sitting Joe Mixon, um, or Zeke. I think those are the two guys I'm leaning against. But like, I have Joe Mixon, so the way I have these guys ranked, I have Joe Mixon ranked the highest of the guys. But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean I'm necessarily more confident in him than I am with these other guys. Um, I mean, you want to start? How are you feeling on this? Like, who are you leaning to sit right now?
I mean, I think there's like a realistic case for like sitting Eckler, Mixon, Zeke. Like those are the top three guys. I think ETN and Zamir White you have to start.
I agree.
ETN is by far the best matchup, even though it seems like the Panthers not allowing as many rushing yards or rushing fantasy points over the past few weeks. Um, but still by far probably the best rushing matchup, if not like top five. Zamir White getting a full workload, taking advantage of his new situation, could be like the future back for this team, and he wants to prove it with Josh Jacobs becoming a free agent soon. Zeke is like my sleeper RB of the week in our sleepers and busts column. But the problem with Zeke is when he doesn't get a touchdown, his upside is very limited. So over the past like 4 weeks without Ramondre Stevenson, or like 3.5 games, whatever, without Ramondre Stevenson, he's had a ton of opportunities, rushing attempts and targets. I don't have the exact number. It's in the column, like the specific numbers. But the problem is even when he has like a ton of opportunities and he gets like a ton of targets, like he had like 11 or 9 last week or something, it was some crazy number. He's not like that spectacular without scoring. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to score on a weekly basis. Whereas I have more faith in someone like Eckler or Mixon matching like his floor and then going beyond that, especially Mixon, because I think like as bad as Jake Browning looked last week, without Jamar Chase, still driving down the field and just kind of getting unlucky in the red zone in the end zone, I'd rather take a shot on Mixon and I'd probably bench Zeke because I feel like his upside just isn't like high enough despite being like a big sleeper this week.
Oof, that's a tough one. I mean, sitting Zeke, you're talking about a guy who's been RB 15 or better 3 out of the last 4 weeks, and this is a full PPR league. I am aware of
Mhm.
that, so I think that definitely has to be taken into consideration. I hear where you're coming from. For me, like, I guess it's the I want to sit the guy who's most likely to bust.
Mhm.
So I guess Austin Eckler and Joe. Austin Eckler, you know what it is? He hasn't been great, but he's playing a Denver team that's a good matchup. Even though they've been better as of late, it's still a good matchup. And they just sat their starting quarterback basically conceding the season, right? So those kind of things in terms of mentality, you take a Denver defense that's been playing like dogs lately, and all of a sudden you take that little dog out of them, right? Because of this. And that's been really the difference between the beginning of the year and the end of the year. They haven't changed personnel, and they've really made a turnaround on defense. Um, so could Eckler go crazy? Man, I know I have Mixon rank the highest, but he has the toughest matchup against KC, and for me, he has the highest chance of busting, of just not giving me a floor at all. So I think that I'm going to sit Mixon of these guys. It's tough
I
though.
think
All
that's
right,
fair.
Alejandro, off to you. Start two: Ty Chandler, Zay Flowers, Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara. Oof, this one's a tough one because I think you're going into last year. I mean, going into last week, Kamara and Kenneth Walker were the clear answers in this one. But Zay Flowers has really been a good performer. He's going to be needed in this game in Miami. If I'm not mistaken, is a good matchup for wide receivers. Ty Chandler in a good matchup as well. He doesn't look like he's going to give up the starting job anytime soon. Kenneth Walker dealing with an injury. So how much do they play Charbonnet? How much do they play Kenneth Walker? What are you leaning here? I almost called you Kenny. Femi.
I think even in half PPR, I got to start Kamara. I think it was his first game back where he played the Bucks and he had like 13 targets, 15 targets. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case again, but with like a lack of receiving options, it's a no-brainer to just keep throwing to him. Um, Probably going to be down in this game. I got to think at Tampa, like 3.5 point, 2.5 point dogs. Tampa's defense is healthy again. They're probably going to be taking a lead. And who better to dump it off to than Kamara? I mean, you could throw it deep to Chris Olave as well. I would love that. I appreciate the points there. But Kamara just consistently a staple in that offense. I think he's like a must start for me.
I
And then
agree. And you're looking at
ultimately,
the matchup too. The matchup is Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay, I mean, has not been kind to running backs. So
no,
that
that's
needs
okay.
to be considered. They haven't been kind to anyone really. They are they are except wide receivers. They are
And that
19
was when they were
or
hurt.
better.
They were really hurt for like 3 4 weeks.
Yeah,
Seems like everyone's back together. I mean,
very
Alvin
true.
Kamara, he's had 2 games outside of the RB2 range. One was RB25. I'm sorry, I'm looking at standard too. This is ridiculous. Let me put it in half PPR. Yeah, he's had 1 game, and it was last week against the Rams, and he only had like what 35 total yards. It was just like a brutal game. But otherwise, he gets like double-digit carries at least.
Yeah,
Man, I can't imagine sitting Kamara with like the championship on the line. At least
I
not
think
over these guys. I think there's enough concerns with everyone that you put Kamara in at least.
I agree. I think you definitely, and if you play Kamara, and you definitely sit Ty Chandler. Would be my two opinions. And then really the tough call for me is between Zay Flower and Kenneth Walker because we saw what Kenneth Walker was capable of when he got the touches 2 weeks ago. But then again, last week, a dud. Zay Flowers had the exact opposite. The week before that, a complete dud. And then last week shows up again. This is a game against Miami where you're going to assume that they're going to need to put up points. So the game script is going to be in their favor. In terms of Kenneth Walker, they play Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has not been kind to the running back. Let me get their true matchup rank up before
They can be pretty rough against the line of scrimmage, but like guys occasionally will break off like big plays, maybe more than
Yeah,
occasionally.
I mean, yeah, it does look like they've been not as bad, right around the middle of the league against the running back. So
Yeah.
really, it's a question of do you trust Kenneth Walker to get the touches? He didn't practice until Friday because of a shoulder, and he was sick. He's a game time decision, which also throws a wrench into the whole thing because he plays at 4:05, and there's a chance that they pull the plug right at the end.
Yeah. I think I
When
think
does
like
when does Zay play?
the Ravens must be a 1 o'clock game. They're 1 o'clock.
Oh, I think I got to go Zay Flowers just to be safe
That's
in
what I'm
that
thinking too.
situation.
I think, like you said, the injury concerns with Kenneth Walker paired with, I mean, I know the Steelers' defense and true matchup rank and things like that, probably not very kind. But over the weeks when they've been losing like linebackers, it's just like you can kind of just dump it off to them. And like, I mean, that's what not Chase Brown. Who was it the other week?
Yeah, Chase
No, Ezekiel Elliott probably. Ezekiel Elliott, and then someone on the Colts. Maybe it was Trace Sherman. Whatever. You saw how exposed they were. But the thing is, like Kenneth Walker doesn't get that many targets. He's splitting a lot with Charbonnet. Um, I think it's not worth the risk, in my opinion. I think I agree with you. Zay Flowers and Kamara.
Fabian, we see you. Jason, we see you. Charles, we see you. Michael, we see you. Andrew, we see you. We're going to get to those questions. Next one coming up is Fabian. Also have 2 running back spots, 1 flex for a full PPR left to fill. Kamara, Zamir White, Joe Mixon. I also have Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson, D-Hop to plug into the flex. Sorry for the confusion. I am a little confused. So
Okay, he has 2 RB spots and 1 flex to fill. These are his running backs, and then these are his receivers.
Gotcha.
We're picking 2 RBs and then a flex
Okay.
of all these guys.
Well, right away, right off the bat, I'm going to say Kamara and Zamir White are starting for me in my 2 running back spots. So you're really making the choice between Joe Mixon, Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson, D-Hop, in my opinion. Do you agree with me there, or are you starting to different? Are you starting Mixon over White or Kamara?
No, I'm starting both of those guys over Mixon. I think we talked about his bust potential a lot, even though I like the offense. I'd rather start both of those guys by far, like for sure.
So where are you leaning here?
And then I'm probably not starting Mixon in the flex. I'd rather have Zay Flowers or D-Hop. It's just who do I want? That's the tough issue here.
I think all right. So let's take a look at these guys. Deontay Johnson, I think. Don't let last week fool you. You saw that Mason Rudolph missed him on a pretty open lane for a touchdown in one. He also led the team in targets, tied with George Pickens. So there is something to be said about he is getting the work. It was just one game. And he's been hot. He's been on fire. Before that, Zay Flowers, again, he's been great. 3 of the last 4 games has been great, but he has one of those really kill you weeks. DeAndre Hopkins has been up and down all season. It does look like Will Levis is going to come back. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? For me, the choice is between Zay Flowers and Joe Mixon. I think that's where it lays. Let me go to some statistics. Let's see what the app thinks about Mixon versus Flowers. I think the app is going to side Mixon. But I think, like we said, it's just that he's got that bust potential, even if he might be a little bit higher on the ranks. Yeah, so Joe Mixon easily outranks Zay Flowers on the app. But I think, again, that's just based on probability more than it is like bust potential. I think if you had a bust potential meter, I think Joe Mixon has a higher bust potential. So I think it's really, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a floor play, or are you looking for a boom play? I think if you look for a floor play, maybe Zay Flowers is the way to go here. Zay Flowers has been really, really good. Let me just pull up Zay Flowers stuff here. I love having the app and just going to the app live. I love this.
Yeah, outside of that Jacksonville game where they were just running away with it, he's been pretty dang solid this second half of the season, and he was very good the first half of the season too.
Wide receiver 13 or better since week 12, 3 out of 4 games. Like, you can't. Oh man, in the game against Miami, where Miami is very susceptible in terms of true matchup rank, they're very susceptible to the wide receiver. I really like Zay Flowers this week, man. He's one of my guys that he was almost one of my confidence plays, but I didn't want to be cheap because I knew everyone's starting Zay Flowers anyway. But they're 8th against the wide receiver of the Dolphins, and you would imagine they're going to have to throw here. So if you need a floor, I think that I'd stick with Zay there over Mixon. But I understand if you go Mixon. Go with your gut on that one. Fortune favors the bold.
Yes, sir.
Jason says, "Am I crazy? Noah Brown or Devontae Smith?" Yeah, you're crazy. Just start Devontae.
I don't think he's that crazy.
Really?
I don't think he's that crazy.
Against the Cardinals?
Well, they could just run on the Cardinals. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. They could throw to the tight end on the Cardinals, one of the worst tight end defense. I mean, they're pretty bad on defense everywhere. So, but Noah Brown, let's pull him up really quick. Noah Brown last week against Cleveland didn't do much. He had 3 receptions for 38 yards, but he had 7 targets. Against Tennessee last time, 11 targets, 8 catches, 82 yards and a touchdown with a backup quarterback. Stroud's going to come back. They're hungry for a playoff spot, man. I got to think Noah Brown's going to go crazy.
Really? You'd play Devontae Smith?
I think that Devontae Smith's by far has the highest upside. I think that he could get 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I think his chance of getting a touchdown or getting 100 yards significantly higher than Noah Brown's. But like, if fortune favors the bold, I mean,
let's see. The Tennessee Titans against the wide receiver are the 3rd best matchup according to True Matchup Rank. 29% over average. They're allowing 32.6 points per game. CJ Stroud coming back is something that needs to be. All right, you're swaying me a little bit here. You're swaying me. I just
think the chance of Devontae Smith not having to do anything or not having to do much is decent enough. However, their defense is also terrible, so Kyler Murray could start picking them apart. Trey McBride against that Eagles defense. I mean, that could go crazy too and keep them throwing. I probably wouldn't start Noah Brown over Devontae Smith, but I think it's way closer than people are going to give him credit for. I think Noah Brown could get, he could have like a wide receiver 1 finish, not overall, but
yeah,
top 12 finish this week.
I mean, Noah Brown has been a up and down roller coaster, either great play or bad play. I think Noah Brown, Devontae Smith play the same role in their offenses. I think I'm gonna go with Devontae Smith just because I think he's the better player. But you've pushed me more towards this is a possibility than I was before. All right, Charles says, I got a tough question here. Got to start 2. Chandler, Addison, Dubs, or Ridley. Full PPR have a 40-point lead from CD. So you got to start 2. Right away or right off the bat, I'm leaning Ridley is a must play, even though Trevor Lawrence is out. Let's go back to see what Ridley did when Trevor Lawrence was out. When Trevor Lawrence left that last game. But I'll go back to see that in a second. But for me, I'm starting Ridley. Addison, he's with a backup quarterback that you've never seen play before. So I'm leaning against him. Dubs looks like he's in a good position, but the thing is with Romeo Dobbs is either he scores a touchdown or you're disappointed. And Ty Chandler was my confidence play this week. He's in a great matchup. He's the main guy. They need a win in that game. For me, I'm going Ridley and Chandler here. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning too. Trying to sell myself on Dobbs, but I don't think that I really can. I mean, he could offer like a decent floor and full PPR, like 6 points. But I mean, looking at what Ty Chandler could do, even in like his worst game, he got 17 yards and a touchdown. Granted, if he didn't get the touchdown, that would suck. But man, he's just so good. I think I'm gonna have to go Ty Chandler and Calvin Ridley as well here.
All right. Let's go to the next one. Dudes, half PPR from Mike. Start two between Akane, Zamir, White, and Kenneth Walker. Start one of Komet, Goddard, and Waller. I currently know where Michael's leaning, and I happen to agree with it. So I'm going to kick it to you. Let's start with the first part of this question. Achane, Zamir White, or Kenneth Walker. Start two. You got to sit one of them. Who would you sit there?
I'm probably sitting Achan.
Whoa, okay.
He's just not offering enough. I know, like maybe the touchdowns just haven't been coming, but man, outside of like some decent workload and some decent receiving work, like he just hasn't been there. And I have no confidence that he's gonna go off anymore. I think Zamir White is an auto start for me. I think unfortunately Zamir White could also like bust, but I'm gonna be heavy on him because the opportunity is there. The offense seems at least competent. Even though Aiden O'Connell didn't complete a single pass after the first quarter in that game.
Better
I
for
think.
Zamir.
What'd you say?
Better for Zamir.
Better for Zamir, unless they're down and they're just throwing the entire time. But and I'd probably start Kenneth Walker over Achan. I mean, as annoying as it could be of a situation, I'd try to get like a pivot just in case Walker is out or they say that he's going to be very limited. Man, I've been so high on Achan and he just hasn't produced, and I don't think this is the matchup to try to like finally get him out there. I don't know.
For me, I lean sitting Kenneth Walker. Now, I will say this: Kenneth Walker is 11th in my rankings. He's the highest of these guys. I have Zamir White at 17 in a really good matchup at Indianapolis, and Devin Achane at Baltimore, a terrible matchup. But here's the thing that is number one: Achane hasn't been good, yes, but I think that's because he's got someone in the way who's having a fantastic year, and Raheem Mostert. That person no longer is in the way. I will say this a little bit, like maybe you're not thinking it, but the coaching staff, maybe they really like Jeff Wilson. They call him the people's champion in that locker room. So they really like Jeff Wilson. Will it be a Jeff Wilson week? It might be. So that's the risk you're taking. But for me, it's coming down to game theory here. Walker is a no-go. Walker is a possible no-go. I'm sorry, game time decision, right? So because Walker is a game time decision and you have two pivots of this nature, of this level, where you're considering benching him already, I'm going to bench him because I also am familiar with Michael's lineup. He doesn't have a guy that you would be comfortable playing.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Akane and Zamir just because of game theory, just because I'm not going to be left holding the bag while like Achane busts off an 80-yard touchdown and I got to watch as Walker can't go, and we've seen also when Walker plays hurt, they give more run to Charbonnet or they give more run to whoever the other guy is in that backfield, whether it's Chris Carson or who else has he played with? Last year.
I think it's Christine Michael now.
So yeah, that's where I'm leaning. And then you got Komet, Goddard, and Waller. I think this is a clear Waller for me. When you're talking about
really,
he's back. Tyrod Taylor loves to target him. And when you're talking about the matchup that he's playing in the number one best matchup for a tight end that you could possibly get, according to the True Matchup Rank. So I think that I'm going to lean Darren Waller here. over these guys. Cole Kmet, game time decision. He is playing at 1, so you're going to have a clear answer. But Atlanta's been tough. I think I like Waller here, man, against the Rams. The Rams have been getting eaten alive by the tight end. I think that I'm going Waller here. How are you feeling?
I can't trust Waller on any given week. He's had a few blow up games, and I know that like last week can't really be like an indicator because he's still kind of like coming back from injury. I'm not benching Dallas Goedert. I'm not benching him in a great matchup. I don't care if I think that game script is going to be, probably maybe not in his favor. Man, I'm not benching this guy because his floor is better than both of these guys, and his ceiling is just as good. I think that he's coming back to becoming like an integral part of this offense.
Last 3 weeks since he's been back, tight end 24, tight end 25, but then last week against the Giants, tight end 8. In that time, 9 targets last week. Love to see that. 9 targets the week before, and 4 targets in his first week back from injury.
Both games against Dallas, he had 4 targets. I can't imagine that they're a great tight end matchup either.
No. And just
otherwise, basically getting pretty solid like target numbers. Never really double digits. Not once this entire season, which is pretty surprising. But I mean, you do have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and you can also just run the ball. I mean, it's not that shocking, but still.
Raheem Mostert, by the way, officially inactive today. So should be noted.
Whoa.
Raheem Mostert is officially inactive. So something we knew already, but something that is.
I thought he had a chance.
Yeah. Actually, that news broke at like past midnight Eastern time yesterday, which I just happened to be awake because I stupidly fell asleep by accident at like 8:30. So I took like a half an hour nap at like 8:30, and then I was like, fuck, and I didn't go to sleep till like 2 a.m. But whatever. The news dropped at 12, and I was like, whoa. Texted the bros about it immediately. All right, Andrew. Championship Sunday. Thanks for the help, Warrior boys. Zamir or Zeke? For me here, full PPR makes it a lot tougher. I'm not going to lie. Let's go to the matchups here. First of all, while I go to these matchups, how are you feeling? What's your initial reaction on this one?
I got to go Zamir White here. I know full PPR is going to favor Zeke by far. Zamir, I mean, we have very limited games with Zamir being like the lead back. But I can't imagine that on many weeks he'll pass Zeke in target numbers. But the thing is, like, he's clearly younger and more efficient with a big workload. He's on an offense that I have more faith in scoring. I mean, it's basically as simple as that. Zamir White just is a great start in the playoffs. He has been. He had 17 carries against the Chargers. That was a blowout game, to be fair. But then against Kansas City in that win, 22 carries, 145 yards. You didn't even really need a touchdown or receiving work. You would have wanted it, but 14.5 points in any format is pretty dang solid. And we know that he can get more than that. We know he can get a touchdown. We know that he can get receiving work because he had 4 targets against the Chargers. He's had games with targets before without with Josh Jacobs playing. I mean, I feel like they're going to lean heavy on him, and their offensive line is really, really good. I think Zeke could offer a pretty damn good floor himself, but man, the upside is just everything. Everything is in Zamir's favor, basically, outside of some target work. I mean, it's not some, it's a lot, but
this one's a tough one for me, man, because both of these matchups are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And both of these guys have been phenomenal. And the reason both of these guys have been phenomenal is because of the amount of work they've been getting. Since Ramondre Stevenson has gone down, Zeke has been the wide receiver. I mean, the running back 15 in a week they got shut out. The running back 14, the running back 1, the running back 27, and the running back 6. In these games, 11 targets, 6 targets, 8 targets, 5 targets, receptions, 4, 7, 5, 9 receptions last week. In a full PPR format, you're talking a free touchdown. You know, you're talking 9 points just off catches for this dude. And not to mention that he's gotten the end zone in
2 out of his last 4 games.
2 out of his last 4 games. And the matchup is absolutely phenomenal. The offense has been running better. under Bailey Zappi. What just happened? Oh my God! Adam Schefter just tweeted Zay Flowers, Puka Nacua, Michael Pittman, and it says today's actives, and I thought it said inactive. Bro, we know they're active, Adam. All right.
Trying to get clickbait, man.
Yeah, I get Adam Schefter's tweets sent directly to my phone. So every time, sometimes this guy, man, this guy. All right, but I mean, the Colts are a phenomenal matchup. They are the best matchup for running backs. The best. Zamir White, obviously playing them. They're giving up 20 points per game to the running back on the ground only, 7.5 points through the air. So Zamir White cannot catch a ball, and he can still be effective for sure. On the other hand, the Bills have been a phenomenal matchup against a running back as well, especially since what's his name? Milano has gone down for the season. They've been really susceptible, particularly to the pass-catching running back out of the backfield. 8.8 points per game. That's 8th in the league. 24% points over average. The 8th best matchup just for running back receptions. Just for running back receptions. Let's look back at the last time Zeke played Buffalo. Last time that Zeke played Buffalo, he only had one target and no catches, but he was also sharing the backfield with Ramondre Stevenson, only played 35% of the snaps. But he was RB25 on 35% of the snaps against Buffalo last time. 31 yards and a touchdown. Oh, man, this one is a hard decision. But
you've made it a lot harder on me the way you're talking about Zeke. I mean, I love him this week too, and I keep telling everyone to bench him. Like,
it's oh my goodness, I think that I'm gonna right now. My rankings have Zeke ahead. I mean, I'm sorry, have Zamir White ahead. But again, like in championship week, like yes, rankings are probabilities, right? Start sits are probabilities, but sometimes you just got to go with who's not gonna kill me.
I think that's fair. I think that then Zeke would be the guy there.
So let's see what the app thinks about this start sit. So we got Zamir White on one of them, and then we got Ezekiel Elliott on the other. The app says Zeke should be the start here. So it's interesting. It's an interesting one. I think I'd go Zeke.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't think Zeke's a bad play here. I would start him. I mean, like I would consider starting him, but I just find it hard to bench Zamir. But I understand why. I mean, sometimes it's not just about, like you said, like that. It's like basically a free touchdown in a sense. I mean, even if he gets 4 for like 15 yards, that's almost a touchdown. I mean,
touchdown.
Pretty dang close.
Yeah. All right, Alejandro. Kenneth is expected to play. Should he sit? Don't want to decide on something else because if y'all don't think he'll play, he is questionable every week. He is playing.
I don't think it's that we don't think that he'll play. I think it's like the risk that he carries in being questionable.
He's a true game time decision. Last I checked, as well. I'll double check that right now. But last I checked, he's a true. They're going to make the decision. There's still a chance that he doesn't play.
Yeah, but I mean, if like historically this is like a pretty common thing, I don't know. I mean, Adam Schefter said he's expected to play. Team has concerns about a shoulder injury that was aggravated last Sunday. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's if you feel like it's a good enough play, I mean, we're not gonna say that he's a bad play. I mean, like when he's healthy, he's very good. I mean, he is like a big part of the offense, but it's just trying to weigh like risk and reward. You know, could he re-aggravate it again this week? I mean, I don't know if I would bet on that, but it's just things you have to take into consideration. I know that any player coming in with an injury designation could get hurt again. But man,
yeah, I think that what we wanted to say was like when you have Devin Achane and Zamir White as your pivots, then that's a factor that you should take into consideration when you have 2 other top maybe 12 options, right?
Yeah, if like Latavius Murray is your next best play, like I'd probably take a shot on Kenneth Walker. But I mean, it all depends. It's all relative.
All right, Charles, what's good? Komet being a game time decision. He's a true game time decision as well. Do I pivot to Hunter Henry or Pat Fryermuth? Smythe, Chiggy, and Logan Thomas also available. Saw Chiggy's on sleepers and busts this week. Feels like a crazy play. Oof. I mean,
Chig's been pretty dang solid since Will Levis came in. I mean,
how are you
he's been.
feeling here?
I'd probably go Hunter Henry. I think that when Hunter Henry's playing, Patriots want to give him the ball. They want to throw to him. It's like they have no receivers. I mean, I love Demario Douglas, but like their receivers are just hurt. And it seems like he's just like a big guy in the end zone. He's a big play guy. I'd probably pivot to Hunter Henry in that case. But
I'm trying to get the latest
Chig
on
goes
Hunter
in. I don't think Chig is like a necessarily bad play. He's probably a pretty decent floor play. I mean, 6 for 63 and a touchdown last week, 3 for 36 the week before, 5 for 46, 3 for 62. This half PPR though, so I mean, in a sense, it's actually better because he doesn't get that many receptions or targets.
It does look like Hunter Henry is going to play. And the reason I liked Hunter Henry last week is because of not only does he get hyper targeted by Bailey Zappi, but he also had a great matchup. So let's take a look at this Buffalo matchup and see how Buffalo is against the tight end, according to the Fantasy Football by Broto app. If I could find it on amongst these 200 apps on my phone. Why do I have so many apps? Why? All right.
Just in case you need one. Like you
Yeah.
never want to delete the last one. You're like, man, I might use this like terrible rideshare app that I've never used. I got like a $5 promo for.
Yeah, this $5 promo is the only thing that bring me to some of these apps, if I'm being honest. All right, let's see. The Buffalo Bills here. The ninth best matchup against a tight end. Oh, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. Yeah, I think that if you want to take the chance, because I think that the play here is Komet if he plays. I think Komet is the best play of all these guys if he plays. But if you're gonna pivot, I think Hunter Henry is the pivot. I think Pat Freiermuth you just can't trust. I mentioned before how I like Durham Smythe, but I don't like him enough. I like him in the sense of he has the ability to get 5 for 56. Like I don't like him. Logan Thomas pops up every once in a while when he scores a touchdown. He's the definition of just like a guy. And then, Chiggy's been better with Will Levis. Yes, he has, but he's been up and down too. I think Hunter Henry has been getting the targets and will continue to get the targets. I think I transition to him over Cole Kmet. Jason says, what are the odds that CMC scores less than 25 PPR points against me? It's very low, Jason. From not
almost impossible.
Oh yeah,
the Washington Commanders have the worst pass defense in the league. They're a bit better against the run, well, significantly better against the run by their own standards, but still not very good. Got to think that the 49ers like 14-point favorites, and they love to push leads, man. They love to like keep pushing and make it like a 40-0 game.
Yeah, they're playing college football out there.
Literally, I mean, it's like I don't know what answers Washington could have to like stop CMC. Even the Ravens, when they were kind of stopping him, he was still going off. He must have had like 30 PPR points last week, which is insane. I mean, let me pull up what he did last week.
Yeah, he goes crazy every week. I think he averages 30 PPR points.
Yeah, even in like those games against, I think it was the Browns and the Cowboys, and then there was another one where he didn't like do that phenomenally. Minnesota and Cincinnati on the ground, just not that great. But he scored like 5 touchdowns in those 3 games. Like, even when you like can stop him like rushing yards wise, dude, it's. I would just pray the rest of your team goes off, man. There's nothing you can do.
All right, let's go to the next one. G Money, Addison, Ingram, or Thielen.
Tight end premium.
Tight end premium. I mean, for me, this is an easy. I know that Trevor Lawrence is out, but I think this is an easy one for me. I think Evan Ingram is earning the targets there. They are missing Zay Jones. They're missing what's his name? Christian Kirk, who is their slot guy. They run a lot of that offense through the slot. So for me, I think I'm definitely sticking with Evan Ingram. The other guys, Adam Thielen, I know he had a good week last week, but has been definitely I don't know what word am I talking about? Aberration and something out of the ordinary for what he's been doing lately. And I can't trust Adam Thielen in a championship game. And Addison is going to be with a backup quarterback who we've only seen throw like 6 passes. And Justin Jefferson's going to be on the field, and KJ Osborne's going to be on the field, and I know TJ Hawkinson is missing, but that doesn't give me enough faith in a Jared Hall led offense. Could he be? Yes. If this was week 8, is it understandable to take the shot at Addison? Yes, but it's not. It's championship week, so I'm going Evan Ingram. How you feeling?
Yeah, that's where I'm going as well. Ever since Evan Ingram got 5 targets in this first week of the season, he hasn't had less than that ever. He's had 6 or more, typically getting 8, 9, sometimes 10. He had 15 last week. He's just been on a tear. You're not benching him. Pro Football Focus is giving him the 3rd biggest advantage. He's versing like basically one of the worst linebackers by their grades. I wouldn't put like that much stock into like that specific grade, but I mean, man, I'm not benching Evan Ingram. He's just too solid, especially tight end premium.
Yeah,
those targets just go crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Charles Kearney, by the way, this is a drop. I'm not getting anything on my phone here, but Komet active, Henry out. Let's see. Maybe this sleeper
Josh
alert.
Jacobs is officially out. Did we mention that?
Oh, let's say officially inactive, Hunter Henry and Deontay Foreman, which opens up a very interesting scenario around Khalil Herbert and Kyler Murray, Michael Pittman, Cole Kmet, Zay Flowers, and Puka Nacua are all active. So Cole Kmet active today. So yeah, you got to start Kmet. That made it easy on you there. All right, Andrew Croucher. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Probably Croucher. What are you
Croucher?
What are you talking about, Tim?
Ooh, what? OU? In my last name, OU makes the ooh sound.
Yeah, what are you talking? This is not a Greek last name.
But all right, fine.
The word crouch is an English word. It's a word in our language.
Yeah, but who knows what language this is? Maybe it is one of those. Look, Greeks, they cut their names off or something. I don't know. Croucher says 6-point touchdowns, Stafford or Fields. I mean, I would say Fields for sure. But then this 6-point touchdown does sway me a little bit. Matthew Stafford against the Giants during the time where they have all of their options, which is Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Kyron Williams on the field, which has been rare this year. They're number 1 in EPA, per dropback, basically number 1 in all advanced categories in offense. And I think Sean McVay isn't getting enough love for like coach of the year. I think people just take him for granted. But if the Rams win today, they make the playoffs, and they were in the dumps last year, and they're literally starting a team of nobodies on defense. It's Aaron Donald and a bunch. This year they had the most undrafted rookies ever invited to a training camp because they just didn't have enough personnel. They're so against the cap, and they're going to make the playoffs. It's absolutely unbelievable. And one of the reasons is because Matthew Stafford is a G. He's always been a G. In standard formats with 4-point throwing touchdowns, I have Justin Fields versus Atlanta 6 and Matt Stafford 8. But with 6-point throwing touchdowns, that kind of evens the playing field a little bit. How are you feeling about this?
It's tough because the Giants are like really susceptible on the ground. I think Kyron Williams gets one of his best matchups of the year. However, they're going to be able to move the ball more effectively because of that. And I think that gives a lot of opportunity for Stafford to like get touchdowns, some easy touchdowns. Like, even if he gets 200 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, well within, his range of outcomes. Like the Giants can stop Kyron at the, in like the top in the 5. They could just throw to Cooper Kupp. They could throw to Puka Nacua. They could throw to someone else. DeMarcus Robinson's becoming like a big, deep threat now. It's tough because they both have phenomenal matchups this week. It's really tough, man. I'm really not sure. I think
I don't play a lot of 6-point TDs, so I don't know really how much. Like, I wish I had a way to access like rank where someone ranks in the 6-point TD rankings in terms of like in the season. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm going to still lean Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is a big day today. coming off a big day. I think that Justin Fields is going to be my play here.
Yeah, let me see. I mean, he has like a little bit of bust potential, but like the defenses that he's been bad against, quote unquote, in fantasy, Tampa Bay, KC, Minnesota, Cleveland. So like very good defenses.
Yeah, top 5 maybe. 4 of the top 5 defenses in the league so far this year.
Yeah, but I mean he's had QB3 overall, QB1, QB8, 3, 4. I mean he was a QB4 last week against Arizona.
Also should be noted here, the Falcons, and I think this is what puts me over the top. The Falcons, one of the reasons why you should get the Fantasy Football by Broto app here, I'll put it on the screen for you here. The Falcons first, the best matchup against the QB rushing. Overall, they are the
127% points.
127% points over average, 4.1 points a game. 4.1 points a game to the running quarterback. Sign me up for Justin Fields today. All right, let's get Benjamin. Benjamin Hooray? Benjamin Hara. No.
Are you trying to piss me off now?
Yeah. Benjamin, happy championship day, boys. Got 2 for you. Half-point PPR, Stroud or Kyler, and 1 of Najee, Noah Brown, Drake London. I have Nico Collins if that changes anything. All right, man. Yeah, definitely some tough decisions today, man. This is an unforgiving season, man. All right, so let's start with the first one, Stroud or Kyler. Who you got of the 2?
Well, I just want to say, September 27th, I tweeted, CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell get to face the Titans twice in the fantasy playoffs. Obviously, injuries have derailed that. But do you know how sick it would be to play the Stroud, Collins, Brown stack and like obliterate your opponent? Now, whether you should do that or not is up to how fancy you want to get.
I have a 3-person stack like that. It's probably the best time to do that is against the Titans. The Titans are really bad against a wide receiver. They are the 3rd best true matchup rank. Again, I'll hold it up. Low tech right here.
Production budget has gone up significantly.
Yes.
I'm holding it up to the camera.
Yes, and right here, they are 17th. I mean, a 16th matchup, but they've improved 8 spots against the quarterback in the last 3 weeks. They're the 5th best matchup in the air. They've been getting crushed by quarterbacks and by wide receivers over the last 3 weeks. I think I lean Stroud here. Not that Kyler doesn't have the opportunity, but he's just been he just hasn't been the Kyler Murray that we're used to. I know if Matt was on here, he would probably go to Kyler. But if you go to his last few games, his last 3 games, QB 18, QB 21, QB 11. Like, do you want that? Do you want some mid-range between 14 and 20 points, or do you want to take that chance that CJ Stroud carves up one of the worst pass defenses in the league? And I think I'm going to take the chance on CJ Stroud doing that. And I hear what you're saying with Noah Brown, but I think I lead. Man,
you like Drake London against the Bears secondary?
No, Drake London is the sit for me. It's between Najee and Noah Brown.
I don't think it's between. I mean, we know Jalen Warren's the boy back there, but
so you'd go with the triple stack here.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of joking at first, but looking at the options, I think Kyler versus Stroud is the biggest. There's a case for both of them. Phenomenal quarterbacks, but like you said, fantasy-wise, Kyler just hasn't been cutting it as like a top-end option. Stroud coming back, perfect matchup for him. And then, I mean, Noah Brown and Nico Collins, they're going to be the top 2 options there. Najee Harris, just too much bust potential for me, even in what should be a very good rushing matchup. Man, I can't do it. I got to go with the stack here.
Wow. Okay.
But if you're listen, I understand there's a lot of risk because if things start going downhill, a lot of the players are going to start going down with them. And even though garbage time could be a thing, there's no guarantee of that. So understand that if you do go with the stack, there is a lot of potential that you just sink your team. However, at their high end, no one's touching these guys.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so here's what I'll say. I'm gonna go with Stroud. Definitely plays the role to stack with Nico Collins. I'm gonna go with Najee just because I'm gonna feel the opposite. I wanna not put my entire eggs in that basket. But I will say this: if you are in a situation where you are chasing, if you played against CeeDee Lamb last night, if you played against Jerome Ford or something like that the night
And you
before,
need the points there.
and you need the points, go for the hyper stack, go for the triple stack. Like this is the way. This is the team to do it against. Really, like the only team that besides Washington, Washington would probably be the creme de la creme. But good luck, man. Good luck. So you say triple stack, I say Stroud and Najee. All right, we got that one already. Charles Kearney, best of luck, everyone in their championship week. Let's bring home that money. Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Oh, Charles.
This looks like our last question on the docket. We still have 5 minutes left, so get those questions in. Pittman or Swift? For me, this is an easy one personally. How are you feeling about this, Demi?
I'm probably going DeAndre Swift here.
Same. Yeah, so I think it's DeAndre Swift because he's in a phenomenal matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. I think they're the only thing that worries me is that the Cardinals were actually are coached by the defensive coordinator. Excuse me, that was the defensive coordinator for the Eagles last week. So year. So is that something that's going to be? Sorry, I'm starting to look up stats while talking. I can't. Multitasking is getting the best of me right now. But in terms of the Cardinals, they are the fourth best matchup against the running back. Evenly split. They're great against the rush, great against the reception. DeAndre Swift does both. Michael Pittman coming off a head injury shouldn't affect him too much, but does get a little bit of a tougher matchup. I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift here. I think that's going to be for sure for me.
Yeah, the Raiders secondary is pretty solid. I think Pittman could beat them easily, but I'd rather take a shot on Swift, man. He's probably going to eat.
To build up my earlier question, Andrew, he did not specify how to pronounce his last name. Crowder. Zahir versus Zeke. My other running backs are Etienne, Swift, and Rachaad White. I need to play 4 of them. Are y'all still in favor of sitting here?
Okay.
I think this was a lot easier of a decision to make when Trevor Lawrence was going to play, but Trevor Lawrence is not going to play. But I think I'm still going to sit Zahir of this bunch. As much as that hurt, you cannot sit Rachaad White. He's been too consistently good. Swift is in a phenomenal matchup. Etienne is in an absolutely phenomenal matchup.
Yeah, I mean, looking at like Travis Etienne's past game logs kind of puts you off on him, but then you have to kind of remember he's playing a healthy Tampa Bay defense, missing Trevor Lawrence for quite a bit. They weren't. I mean, they should have been prepared for that because he's been missing time. Played Baltimore, they played Cleveland, and against Cleveland, he did pretty good. He did get a touchdown. He's got a solid receiving workload. Like he's good for 3-4 receptions a game. I think that he offers a pretty solid degree of safety. Whereas Zamir, as high as I am on him, I could see him getting stopped and then just not getting. Sorry, like dying over here. Just not getting that receiving workload that guys like Rachaad White, that Etienne are going to get, that Zeke is going to get. I think, unfortunately, Zamir is still the odd man out in full PPR here. But I do think that there's a case to sit a guy like Zeke or to sit a guy like Etienne because
I agree.
Otherwise, they could easily bust. Like, it doesn't really matter what the matchup is. The offense itself kind of dictates that sometimes. I mean, talent can overtake that. Like, sometimes Breece Hall or Saquon Barkley or McCaffrey on the Panthers, like sometimes the talent just wins out. But
I will say this. If there is one guy I would sit for Zahir, it'd probably be Travis Etienne in terms of lessening your opportunity to bust. And I will say this, sir, as we sign off, unless you guys want to get your last questions in, we're going to sign off in about a minute or so here. The last thing I will say is fortune favors the bold. Go with who you think is going to play the best. And because luckily the reason why you're in the championship is because all 5 of these options are phenomenal options. At the end of the day, all 5 phenomenal options, and you only have 4 spots. So you have to make that call. For me, I probably am sitting Zahir White and throwing my phone over a bridge. And it's championship week, baby. It's championship week. With that being said, We hope everyone wins their championships today. Bring home some championships. Thank you so much for supporting us for a season. Patreon.com/Broto Fantasy. Most people in here are already there, so take a look if you are not. Happy New Year to everyone. It's New Year's Eve. Hope you guys are safe tonight. Be smart. I've done some dumb things on New Year's Eve, so be dumb if you want to too. And that's it. And that's it. That's all I got to say. Femi, what do you got?
Everyone. Good luck, everyone. Happy New Year. Let's win every single championship.
Yes, sir. Happy New Year to everyone. Let's bring in 2014 strong. Peace out, everyone. It's crunch time.